Just so thanks everyone for joining. Some of us may have gotten a chance to take a look at some of the attachments I sent yesterday. I know it's not a lot of time for you to look before today's meeting, probably because we had a short 2 weeks between this meeting and our last meeting, so I was only able to meet with those two vendors to get their one environment designs, which is the naturalistic one, already sent a proposal. And so Tier, thanks for connecting me with Fred.
Yeah, sure.
That's the one that looks, very naturalistic. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at that one. And then the other vendor is Game Time, Mike from Game Time, who I also met with at the playground. They did, measurements and stuff, but I think he has some good thoughts in terms of just some of the assumptions. I think we need to really decide on, no matter whether we're, going with him or another vendor. I think, like things like, oh, sorry, some housekeeping items. Can we just approve last month's meeting minutes? Was everyone okay with it? Jahida, I changed the spelling of your name, of course.
Yeah,
Were there anything else that you guys wanted to change from the minutes?
approved.
Good.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve minutes from our March 22nd meeting. Can I have a second? Okay,
Second.
okay. And what's the what? And then all that approve that, vote yes, I guess. All right, so we'll consider that approved. And then we'll jump right into, I think, like maybe look at this game time one, which is the one with the 7 attachments. So one thing I learned is that game time, even though this Mike person, he actually works for like a consulting, he's a consultant that consults for multiple vendors. So that's why he has access to this other one, this big toys equipment that's a totally different brand and manufactured from Game Time, and they do more of these naturalistic ones. And so he created a link, to sort of their catalog. But what he was saying is, they can do this vendor can, even though they've historically focused on more traditional equipments, they can also do naturalistic ones. And even he says if we choose to go with a traditional route, we could make the colors as such that are more like, I know we talked briefly last time about how the vibrant colors attract younger kids. And it actually turns out, and this was a follow-up that I had, a takeaway that for me actually. So I chatted with Cassie Shull, who's one of the Parks and Rec staff members who have participated in a lot of these playground, park conferences. And so she actually informed me that it's only really young kids that get attracted to like the primary colors. So if our target age group is 5 to 12, especially when you start to get into like the 10 and up kids, they actually prefer a more sophisticated palette because they think it's like cooler and more chic and, less kiddish. So that's just something to consider. And so with that said, we have the flexibility regardless of what we actually use. When we say naturalistic, we're talking about designs like this environment designs group had, which Tier has at her house, that is literally made out of wood. Things that are made out of, wooden structures. And the only thing to keep in mind about those is just that they don't last as long, because, in the weather and in elements, they may not last like 20 years, which we need this, equipment to last, 20 years. Like what's there right now, the dinosaur playground has been there for 20 years, just because it's taxpayer funded. So it can't be like replaced sooner than I think 20 years. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, and then, so if we go back to this Mike's email, who represents Game Time and, this big toys. So if you guys looked at some of the 7 PDFs that he had attached, I feel like they all have their, you know, pros and cons. Were there anything that really stood out to you guys? Go ahead.
Yeah, my favorite with that one was the climbers retreat. Um,
My kids.
I like how it looks. I think climbing in general is really important. It's important to brain development, like the way that the kids use their right, left. Um, and so getting more of that is awesome. And then I also liked the mossy banks.
Hmm.
Um, those are my top two for that one. I like that those are like the more sort of lower ones because I know that the that McGuan is higher, Cherry Lawn is higher, so I was kind of going for more of this like low to mid
And
range.
also, we do have to remember we have those trees do get very leafy in the summertime.
Right, right.
Not like that right now because there's no leaves, but in the summer, I think those leaves really come down, right? Would you guys say that's true, Lauren and Haida, if you guys are there in the
Yeah,
summer?
the
Yeah.
leaves really fill in.
So I think that's
One thing is I didn't ask my kids, but I thought it would be interesting actually to take it to Hinley and have like 5 classes do this and like pick the ones that they think look the coolest.
So I actually, excuse me, I asked both my kids and let me just look, I took screenshots. The first one was Mossy Banks, which is what you said here. And then the second one was Climbers Retreat. So you're on par with what my children chose, for all the reasons you guys just talked about. So the slide they liked the climbing, they liked the monkey bars, they liked the look, the aesthetic. So that's the feedback I got from them. An 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. So
Mhm.
Cool.
My kids really like the climbers retreat because they just thought there were more that you could do on it. And I really like the Mossy Bank one too. What about you, Lauren and Yahida? Did you guys
I
have any?
didn't get to have my kids look at it. I'm sorry.
Oh,
But when I was going through it, those were the two that I kind of thought that they would be more into.
mm-hmm.
I think for my kids, the Mossy Banks, there wasn't a second place. The Mossy Banks took the first. And that's because right now, too, currently with the dinosaur park, they there's areas below it where they like pretend play that they're at a diner and like can make something. And this allows for that, the way the Mossy Banks is set up. And then, of course, a hard standard that my 7-year-old has was the monkey bars, and particularly the ones that are the sky wheels that she enjoys currently. So
Cool. I like the openness of Mossy Banks too. So it just I think that does give into like kids playing with different things and some imaginary play versus like a chunky, you only are going to be climbing up to the slide and that's it. So that's the Mossy Banks just feels like really inviting to me.
Can you guys see my desktop?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to see. Okay, so just for benefit of the recording, oops. This is the Mossy Blinks. This is Blakely. I think Blakely is one of these ones that just has like a really high, much higher slide, and there it's more height, but there's not a whole lot that you could do. And I think we had just discussed that, height is something probably we're not looking for this park. So I think we can roll that one out, right? And then Mossy Banks, they've got the climber here. You've got, some of these that I know we have currently at Cherry Lawn. But then do you feel that we should ask them if they could take some modules of Mossy Banks and combine it with the climbers retreat.
Did we get a price point on this to see?
Right, so he gave some so these are all within our budget. I
Oh,
mean,
okay, okay.
right,
got it.
like I didn't tell him, because our budget has also fluctuated a little bit since we last talked.
Okay.
It was 150,000. But what happened was the Parks and Rec department was able to ask the Board of Selectmen's meeting, actually at last night's meeting, to transfer $11,000 from ARPA funds that was allocated towards installing the swing set that we already have into our budget. So now we just have a whole lump sum of 161,000 that we could use. So
Okay.
so let's say it doesn't actually cost as much to install the swing. We still have, the remaining of the 11,000 to be allocated towards the equipments themselves.
Okay.
Um,
I have a quick question on size.
Mhm.
And these all will fit too? Like that just looks like a very big, like long structure.
yeah. So that's one of the things he did, was he only sent me things that would fit in that.
Fit. Okay. All right. Just thinking.
But I think, I want to take this time, if we can, to go over a couple of the questions he had for us. Just, I think it's good for us as a committee to sort of make some of these decisions at the outset. And we could, no matter which vendors we end up working with, I think we're going to need to answer some of these assumptions. Who is doing the removal and disposal of existing equipment? This includes wood borders, how there's that border, that wooden border that's like around the footprint of the playground right now. That, frankly, I think you can see some of it has decayed. So I don't think we can keep that. Or we probably should look into renewing that, because some of it's decayed and some of it has even fallen off. Like a few of the wooden planks are non-existent, so they've just rotted out or something.
And it's inclining too with the dirt. So.
Right.
Yep, agreed.
And so that's something I need to check with, the Parks and Rec department on. But I think in general, if we can get something like that done by the department, or at least by our town, maybe the Department of Public Works, that will save us a lot more money than if we have one of these playground vendors do it.
Is there an opportunity to donate the structure?
I asked the same question. I asked them whether or not they can be recycled. Both vendors informed me that it's not the equipment themselves that you see above ground that will be hard to donate. It's the concrete base that's buried that will be, one, it's difficult to remove, and two, no one's going to want to transport the top part with the bottom attached, because that just makes it, you can't. And then once you cut it out of the bottom, the base, then it's almost like they have to reinstall it anyway and create new concrete base, so it doesn't really save anybody any money, apparently.
Okay, good to know.
I know, I asked the same question. And so this is a question I need to just check with the department or maybe the town on, because or other people in town hall, because the removal apparently is a pretty large undertaking. And I'm hoping that that's something the town can just do, because if we want the vendors to do it, that will eat up a lot of our budget. And then, will the new playground need a retaining wall similar to what is there now, or will a 12-inch plastic playground border suffice?
I think what's there now should work, because I know that as it's shifted, Parks and Recs have been able to go and fix it since they're individual planks versus a plastic piece. I don't know if anyone else has.
Yeah, the only thing is you're talking about the wooden retaining wall, right?
Yes.
So we would need to replace that wood,
Yeah.
I think, with something new. but even if we're keeping the retaining wall, like the wood themselves are just decayed.
Right, right. But I do like the idea of the wood itself versus a plastic at the 12-inch plastic border.
Yeah. Well, the 12-inch, and I need to find out more about that, but he explained to me that the 12-inch plastic playground border is very standard, that comes with some of this equipment. But I need to see a picture. We haven't seen pictures of it. I don't know where, like, there's an existing playground that actually uses this. So that's something that we need to like do more research on, if it's, to see if it's even viable. Does anyone have any thoughts right now around, like, if we should, like, keep like that retaining wall, because there is a grade difference, with that higher part that's being held, the soil is being held back by the retaining wall right now.
Yeah, I think we need to keep some kind of retaining wall there, or else that's all gonna just collapse on down with, a rainstorm or snow or whatever.
Mm-hmm. The other potential solution, I think, is to, if you get rid of the retaining wall, is to literally regrade that whole area, so it's a much flatter space, so it's not like two different grades, and then you regrade it to make it like a larger expanded area, like we kind of talked about. So it would be like gradually, like it wouldn't be so like a steep slope, but it would be like a gradual slope that kind of just goes up. So those are some ideas that.
How much what would the cost of that be to
So
regrade?
yeah, these are all good questions. I don't know. We can find out. The thing is, from what I understand, it's, if you don't pay for that, you're going to have to pay for the retaining wall itself, which also
Right.
gets, is also
One or the other is going to have to be, yeah.
right. So we need to find out prices,
Right.
Yeah, I think finding out prices and then also thinking long term, like however long this playground lasts, the next playground is gonna have to talk, think about this as well. Maybe having it more of a smoother surface graded, like, is just better long term. So I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing about the retaining wall is that, when you have that grade difference, especially if we're looking to put the swing set on the higher grade, how would that transition look, right? Like, the kids have to like jump down, from the swing area to the playground area. And is that gonna become, potentially a safety issue, even though it's not that high, but like, if kids are constantly going back and forth between two grades, it may not, it may cause someone to fall. I don't know.
Yeah, the positive about the retaining wall is it offers seating. Like, it's a nice little easy
Mhm.
seat for everybody,
That's
which
true.
I like. Yeah.
Like for the adults.
For adults and for kids.
Okay. So let's look at the next bullet, just so we can at least look over sort of things that are to be considered. Should this be priced on CT state contract? So he and I talked briefly about this. Game Time is a vendor that is on the Connecticut state approved bidders list. And what that means is you get better pricing because they've already been like pre-approved by the state. It's like one of the vendors that are on their sort of, approved list, that makes the process go faster too, like the bidding process, because they don't have to go through like the actual like 500-page bidding document that a new vendor would need to submit. So it's just like much quicker. It's almost like they're once they're approved, they can deal directly with just our group in the Parks and Rec Commission, and just get a sort of summarized bid to us, and we can just work with them. Otherwise, it needs to be a much more extensive process and a much larger bidding document that is required by state law. So that's just something to consider from a timeline standpoint. And, so I'm leaning, and I've spoken to Lori and Susan Daly, who did the Cherry Lawn project. Lori is the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission. They definitely recommend staying within that approved list if possible. And so I think, Tier, that's probably the only thing that why I'm hesitant to go with someone like Environment Designs, even though, the design itself is great. It's just, it's a very cumbersome process to get them like either approved or to go through that huge bidding process. Next bullet point, if you want to add swings, should they be placed in the same area as the new unit, or will they be placed in a different location? I don't think there's space for it within the same footprint for the swing set, as you guys know. So it would have to go in that higher area. And what do you guys think about putting it between the existing equipment and like, he suggested doing it like between, apparently Pam had looked into putting it between the existing playground, like that footprint, and the neighbor, that yellow house. I feel like it's gonna get too close to the house. I don't know if that, like even right now, there's no, the shrubs are all like, the leaves haven't really come in, and so it's more bare. But once the leaves come in, I don't know that there's enough space.
I feel like moving it like into the higher area might be better, just because you know how kids are always trying to like jump, they swing high and they jump off the swings. And once you do that, it just doesn't seem like there's like enough space. They'll be hitting onto something.
Yeah. The only thing is that he notified me that for the swing, there is a law that there has to be nothing in front or behind the swing, just so it can accommodate the actual pendulum of the swing. Like 12 feet before in front and 12 feet like behind, which is fine. I think we have the space there for that. It's more just like we need to decide if we are okay with kids having to like jump down into a lower area, or do we need to maybe create some steps on the retaining wall? Just for safety reasons.
Yeah, the other thing I don't know if this matters or not, but that neighbor has said in the past that she's concerned that kids, would be throwing things into her yard or at her windows. And I don't think, the little kids would, but if we're attracting, an older
Yeah,
group, that's been a concern of hers over the years.
right. I think one of the reasons maybe Pam was considering that was because it's on the same level as the existing equipment, so it just seems more seamless. I'm
Right,
not
where would the
Yeah,
other
that makes
spot
sense.
potentially be? So I'm just trying to visualize. So if we didn't do it there, where's the other area that we could potentially,
You mean that higher area?
yeah, like would that be if you're facing it to the right?
Another alternative is if you move it to the part that's like closer to the parking lot, but then you're gonna like cut into space that eventually we might want to do, that maybe like a little skate ramp, so
Right. Where the picnic benches are, right? Is that what you're saying?
where the picnic benches are right now. And also, I realized like that park is not currently ADA compliant. It doesn't have a path for a wheelchair to be wheeled in from the parking lot.
Oh.
So that may be something we need to consider. Okay,
Well,
so
I
we
feel
talked.
like if we put the swings not close, not where the neighbor's house is, but kind of to the right. Aren't there rocks there? Is it, I'm
Yeah, if you
like,
move more to the
great.
right,
Yeah,
then even less space with the neighbors there. Like,
yeah,
yeah, like the houses kind of like come out a little bit, or
yeah.
their backyards do at least.
Right.
Will the new surface be wood mulch, or would you prefer rubber mulch or poured in play rubber? Okay, so we don't have money for poured in play. Poured in play is what we have at McGuane right now. It lasts a long time. And it's really nice. Like if you like fall, like it doesn't hurt, but it's very, very expensive. So I'm pretty sure like that would eat up like what half, if not more than half of our budget. Rubber mulch is something that was, he just, brought it up as an option. And then wood mulch is something that's there right now, but obviously we would need to replace it with new wood mulch, just because there is a lot of, there's been so many layers of mulch that's been put there over the years that if you like dig deep into it, like there's basically like decayed mulch, like layers and layers of it under. So they would, and that they do that. They remove all of that and they put down, brand new mulch. And brand mulch apparently is actually something that is considered ADA compliant because you can roll a wheelchair on it. I don't know about rubber mulch though. Do you guys have any thoughts on the surfacing?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Do you? I mean, I think
I mean, do you think it
why fix what's not broken kind of a thing? If there haven't been, I mean, have there been injuries there because of the mulch? Have there been any issues at that park? If not, I think we just keep what we have.
Okay, yeah, but it would be replaced with new
Replaced.
replacing new,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, new mulch.
Yeah.
That just
Is
because
there any benefit to the rubber mulch compared to the wood mulch?
I think it's more from a maintenance standpoint. You don't have to replenish it as much every year.
Yeah.
Isn't
But
it a little easier to walk on the rubber mulch?
it might, I'm gonna find it. I'll take that as a takeaway.
I Googled it because I have never seen rubber mulch. And it said that it doesn't absorb water. It insulates soil from heat and harsh weather, maintains its look season after season, resists compression, blowing, and washing away, and controls weed growth. Those are the pros. And then the pros of wood mulch were material that biodegrades and returns to earth. Low energy is consumed as it's a byproduct of wood processing. And it's non-toxic.
Yeah, I do feel like rubber mulch sounds like it. I don't know if it's environmentally very friendly. It feels like you're creating a lot of non-biodegradable, materials.
Yeah.
So that, and also I don't even know like how much it costs.
Right.
These are just, very high level things options that he's mentioned.
I mean,
Okay.
based on that, I would say go with the wood, but obviously we can go
Well,
back and figure out what's more cost effective too.
Yeah, Haida, do you mind sharing, like emailing that to me?
Yeah, sure.
And I'm happy to include it, in the minutes just as something that we read off like during the meeting. And what is the budget for this project that MRC would be responsible for? I haven't shared with him the number because one, I wasn't sure quite what it was until this Board of Selectmen meeting, and two, I just wanted to understand sort of how much these modules are independently of what we can spend. So I wanted to just run through that list with you guys. Does anyone want to take on like one of the bullets to do some follow-ups? Like Shahida, I mean, you already basically looked into the rubber mulch. Do you want to take this one to just kind of see if,
Sure.
if there's some, I mean, port and play is basically kind of out of the equation because of cost reasons. If you can maybe do some quick research to see the cost between wood and rubber mulch, and maybe just like aggregately, if one is better than the other, like if the pros are, I mean, it certainly sounds more environmental, and I think we all agree with that already. But if, maybe you can take that one item.
I'd be happy to. Do we have an idea of like what we would need, like the amount, so that we can get a good price point on it?
You know what? Let me, feel free to email this guy, Mike.
Okay.
You sent this to me. I mean, he's
Yep.
super responsive. And, I'm also happy to like text him or something if he doesn't get back to you.
Because at the Parks and Recs, I just watched them fill it not too long ago. Would they be open to me reaching out to see like how much they used or what they needed to get an understanding from them?
I think they're open to everything. I mean,
Okay.
the department's super short staff right now because as you know, like Pam has left, and so they're in the process of looking for an executive director. So this
Okay.
is kind of on us. We don't have a lot of support, unfortunately,
Okay.
from the staff. So that's why I just been meeting with them. Usually, the department actually it will send someone to meet with the vendors, and we're kind of just like around for decision making. But I think we need to like band-aid it a little bit, and hopefully, when someone's hired, we can ask for some more administrative help. Thank you. And then is there any other ones in here that, well, the new playground needed retaining, okay, I'll take this one, this retaining wall one, because I think this one's pretty big. And also I want him to send me what like what this plastic playground border looks like. And I also want to do some digging with the department on, I'll take the first two because I also wanted to find out from the department whether they can do the disposal and removal of the existing playground.
Janet, you just tell me what you need me to do and I will do it.
Okay.
I don't,
Yeah, I think all this is kind of like some of these are just a quick question to
right.
the department. So like quick,
Like the last one, for instance, obviously we have a set budget, but some of that wouldn't necessarily be from MRC, right? Like,
well, MRC is just the consulting
MRC is the consulting. So
yeah, like game time is right. So all these attachments that he attached that are like these prototypes are from game time.
game time, I meant game time. So
Game
game
time.
time's just the structure, right?
Game time is the factory
The
or the
playground.
of the actual structures.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, like I wish he would give us like sort of, do you mind reaching out to this guy, Mike, about just whether we could combine elements from two
Yeah.
different
Two different, so
modules
like from the climbers retreat, I think we said
Yeah.
climbers retreat and
in the Mossy Banks?
Mossy Banks. Yeah,
And that way we could like ask, maybe we can have majority of climbers retreat, but with a couple of things from Mossy's. Like if we could have a couple of the things we like from Mossy Banks and like have
Yeah.
it be added to it.
a little more custom if we
Yeah.
wanted.
Like
Yeah.
if there's any way to even do that.
Yeah, okay, sure. And Mike is the contact.
Mike is the contact, and then you can also just ask him like how much that would be for
To
to do that.
customize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't told him about the 161,000. I want him to tell me how much things cost before we tell him our budget.
Yeah.
Um,
Or he can just watch this.
yes, true. So Haida, you're taking the surface one. Oh, if you want to add swings, should they be placed in the same area? See, this is, I mean, as a group, I think we should really just talk about this. I know we've floated some ideas, but it sounds to me like we still need to just put it in that higher ground area, no?
Yeah, I think that's the issue of whether we get it graded or not. Because it's like the whole surface, like between those trees on the upper level, is gonna have to be, flattened a bit to put those swings in.
Whether we regrade it or not, or even like, let's say it stays at a higher grade. Do you think does anything needs to be done there?
For the swings,
Yeah.
I mean, I have to go back to Baker Playground, but it seemed like, there's that big hill and then there's a pretty big tree. So I don't know if it's like an issue of like getting close to the roots or like where,
Getting too close to that tree.
Yeah, I think I think that's an issue of, you know, yeah, whether we have it, if we, maybe we just get this consultant out there and see, like, can we just fit the swings, right
So
down the higher
just so
level?
you know, he thought so
He
when
thought so. Okay.
when we were there. Yeah, we did the measurements. He measured out 12 feet in front, 12 feet behind. There were enough space for that. The problem, I don't know if it's a problem or if it's just something to consider, is the fact that it's higher, it's high, has that retaining wall, like that space, that whole
I don't
area is
think that's,
higher.
I don't think that's an issue. I think it makes it almost more interesting.
Okay. So if we put the swings in that higher ground, there is space for that doesn't run into like the trees or anything. The thing that it does quote unquote run into is just the fact that it's higher and we have a retaining wall. If we keep the retaining wall there, then we'll maybe want to think about having some steps that so kids can,
You
come
know
down.
what? Even if the retaining wall stays, they can always just walk around. They don't have to go from the retaining wall section, 'cause it's flat. When you're walking up to the playground, it's flat. So they could just exit the playground, that area, and just walk kind of up to the swing. They don't have to climb up the retaining wall necessarily.
Right. So just kind of like the way they would do it now, like just walk to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you think that's okay? I was a little bit concerned about kids wanting to like just access the playground directly, because it's the shortest path from the swings.
I don't know. I think like Tier said, it might add like a different interesting level to it. And there are going to be kids that want to jump, little boys are going to be little boys, but I think there'll be enough, there's going to be a mix.
Okay. So you guys feel that it's okay to just keep the retaining wall, keep the two levels, versus removing the retaining wall and regrading that whole area to make it like almost flat, but with like a slight slope.
I feel like if it's cost prohibitive to regrade it, then it can stay the same. If it fits within the budget, then why not make it flat?
Okay. Just so I understand, if budget wasn't an issue, because so I think that we need to understand the cost for regrading versus replacing the retaining wall, right? Is that our two choices?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, the two are like severely different, but I just have no idea right now.
Yeah, I have no idea because then, do you get into a question of like redoing the grass and having the grass and like, I don't know, this could be
Right.
like
More wood
could
chips.
be it could be a slippery slope, but I
Yeah.
think it's worth it to just check it out and see if we can kind of do like a more like gentle slope to the
Gentle slope.
playground. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing with the gentle slope is then the wood chips would have to cover the swing area, which it probably should, right? And then so you'll need like a border around the whole thing, including the swing. It
Right.
does sound like that would
Why,
be more
yeah,
expensive.
yeah, why would you need a border?
Do you need wood chips under the swings?
I think you do. I think they
Yeah.
would put them anyway.
So
So
I just think you need a border that differentiates between the wood
the wood
chips and the
grass.
grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to have actually like a piece, like a wooden border around it.
And that may not have to be wooden. And I think that's what that guy may be saying. I don't know what this like
The
uh,
plastic thing.
plastic border, so yeah, so like what that looks like, playground border. But I think they have this at Cherry Lawn right now where it's just like something that delineates between the wood chipped area versus like the grass.
Right, right.
Do you
Yeah,
do you want to take that one, Tier? Or should we
sure, sure,
I
sure.
think
Yeah.
it's more
So
just a question.
so this is a question of um how much would it be to regrade the area um and versus not regrading and doing keeping that retaining wall but doing
Right,
it
and I know I said I was gonna take the retaining wall, but this kind of bleeds into like
kind
this.
of goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the two
Why
are
don't I
kind
do
of going
that
hand in
one?
hand. So I'll work with you on it together. Maybe we can both be on the emails and just kind of like,
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
also, if we regrade, how long is that gonna take to,
Hey, yeah,
that's another element of it.
yeah.
I know
But
you
I mean,
said
as
that.
a group though, like let's say if cost is not an issue, do we have a preference between regrading it or keeping it like 2 levels?
I like the idea of regrading it, but I think I need to go back to Baker Park and like look.
Okay, yeah. I was just there like twice again this week. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, I drive by it every day, but
I
I
can
actually
take
don't know
some
what my preference
pictures.
is.
I could go across the street and take some pictures for you guys if you
Yeah.
want. Send them
Thank
out.
I'm on Google Maps right now, just looking at it.
you. I don't know. I would say if we have the budget, why not regrade? But if people feel strongly the other way, I'm indifferent.
Mhm.
Yeah, either one works for me.
Let's find out some numbers first.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Sounds good. Okay. So did you guys get a chance to look at this link that he sent? This is one of Game Time's well, the vendor's called Big Toys.
I did.
This seems like he's saying this is their version of a more naturalistic looking playground, even though it's not quite like the, truly naturalistic ones that are like made out of like wood stumps and like, and we'll get to that email later, but this is just, they have like tree houses.
That's awesome.
I know,
Yeah,
I
it
love
looks
the look of
That
great,
one's
it.
really cool.
but I don't know. See this, like they have some monkey bars here. And he says this is always very popular with the kids, like this like spider net thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids love that.
Yeah, my kids love anything they can climb on.
So maybe we want him to give us a couple more options in here that could fit in our footprint.
Yeah, especially
Why
the
not?
wooden one,
What?
the wooden looking one.
The
Yeah, I
wooden
like I
Yeah.
like the wooden looking ones too.
like this.
Yeah, and the two previous before that
Okay, let
that
me
you
see.
had, not that one,
This
that
one.
one, and that one and that one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean those
Yeah,
look big, but
that one and this one. This one's
yeah, I
just
mean,
really big.
Yeah, that one's
yeah,
big.
I mean, just the
Cool.
look of it though is, as you
Do
said,
you
more
think it's high?
naturalistic. What's that?
Do you guys think it's too high?
I don't think those are necessary because it's the most shaded park out of the ones that we have.
Yeah, I mean more like the aesthetic I like.
Okay,
Not necessarily
not
like
the
not
structure.
necessarily the structure, just more.
Okay.
But again, I'm not the kid playing on it, so
I know. I mean, this is all made out of wood, and the problem with wood, again, I guess, is like the longevity of it,
yeah.
or not that it's not as long. But what he was saying is he could make. Wait, how do I?
Yeah, I think within that, Jenna, it says there's a code for conditioned wood and a code for recycled material and plastic, so they can still keep that same aesthetic with recycled material and plastic.
Right. I think that's what he was saying. Like they could make plastic like aesthetically look more like this color theme, even if it's not made out of wood.
Oh, Janet, go to the first picture that says big fun. I know there's something blocking it right now, but um I
Okay.
like that. See like on the bottom how see that boy hanging on the
Yeah.
yeah, that metal, and then the girl down in that green seat there.
Yeah.
I love those.
Oh.
And that kind of stuff, like kind of that those little places really leads to great imaginative play because the little ones feel like really safe, and they're like small little secret places
Nook. Yeah.
kind of become like their own little worlds, and like little meeting areas for like
Mhm.
two or three kids that can only fit in those little areas at one time. It
Mhm.
just leads to like really fun little interactions. And I've noticed like throughout my time like loving playgrounds that those are really little popular spots. And also that kid, what he's leaning on, that looks so simple, but that really becomes like an ice cream shop or a cafe or a kitchen. And
Yeah,
um
like this little bar.
yes, so
Yeah.
it's a very simple little feature, but I would really lean towards, incorporating something like that into it.
Cool. Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we ask Mike to give us more information on this type of structure, but also maybe this specific structure? Um, you know, for the look and for just to get some information like cost and
Yeah, sounds good.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And then Janet, when ideally should we be coming up with a decision and placing an order by this? Is this
need to have it ordered by year end.
okay? Okay, great.
So I know that sounds far away, but we kind
Just
of have
fast.
to yeah, it's not, it's only because we meet like once a month. I mean, of course, we'll have some work done like in between the meetings, right? Like hopefully we can like divide and conquer some stuff. Here's are some other links of nature-based equipment from Game Time.
Those are more, all of those links were more like accessories to add on.
Yeah, so these are things that clearly can. I wonder. I'm sure these can just be like added on. Um,
Cool. I love that log crawl through. That's really fun.
yeah.
Yeah, the Earth Place Nature Center has one of those, and the kids love it. It's so fun.
Okay. Yeah, so I think once we decide on like the main structure, we could throw in some of these like a la carte stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So,
But then like guys,
that
look at these
is
kind of things. I mean, it's
yeah, those
expensive, but
so I mean,
Those
this
are
would be the
fun.
benefit to regrading because then you have
more space.
more space. Yeah.
And also, this is probably the kind of thing like Caroline, like what we talked about, maybe pulling in little. Maybe they do have little a la carte things that you could,
Yeah.
you
Like the
know,
road. Yeah. Ask him
right,
about.
right. You could say like we want this structure, but then we want like this thing added to this or something
Yeah.
like.
Yep. I can definitely ask him.
Okay, cool. So you'll ask him about those two things, and then Caroline, if you don't mind, maybe just like looking through a couple of these pages and see
Yeah.
if there's some. I think that, for example, the climbers retreat has a lot of this stuff already.
Yeah. Like making sure that we're not duplicating things
Right.
or
So obviously we're not duplicating, but also maybe see if you could ask about like this log crawl through
yep.
or and then Thierry, like I don't know, just for ease of division, I could just deal with the whole retaining wall grading issue, since I have to like talk to like town about like they're probably Department of Public Works about stuff like that anyway. Do you want to talk to
Do you want me to join forces with Caroline and go do like the playground? Like,
yeah, like
yeah,
just yeah, maybe ask about that big the big toy one,
yeah,
like one.
yeah, totally.
Just because I don't believe he just sent this as a very high level link just so we can look at it, but maybe ask him specifically about this one and like the cost.
Okay.
This might be a silly question. Has he come out to see the space?
Yeah.
Okay, he has. Okay.
So both of these vendors, I've already met them out at Baker
Out
Park.
there. Okay. So
Yeah,
they've
because they have
seen
to
the
do
space.
measurements and stuff anyway.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure that okay.
Okay. So
Janet, are
we
we are we kind of just leaning on doing MRC and not environment design right now? Like,
Oh, no, I wanted to get to environment design's email at least, so we can look at it. But noting that I don't believe they're on the state's approved bidder list. So it would just be a longer process. But I did want to get, look at this email with you guys. So this is the more naturalistic option, like, he has also a climbing spider web, which is this module right here. Oh, and sorry, it's already almost 2 o'clock, so I want to be cognizant of your time. Vine crossings here, and he did like some wooden pedestal, like wooden stumps here, and then this fallen limb here. So this is also like a lower thing, as you can see, and then with like a separate, they call it eagle's nest, which is kind of cool treehouse looking thing that comes down on a slide. And this is all within our budget, guys. I mean, you saw his proposal, right? He's the only one that's actually already given us a proposal, and it's very much within our budget. So which means we could even like add other stuff.
Yeah,
But
this
again,
doesn't-
he has his own assumptions too. Removal of play equipment, footings, and dispose. Remove old wood fiber safety base. I don't know what that is, but basically saying the town will do all the removals and disposals ourselves.
so I mean, just from like first glance, I'm more inclined towards game time for this playground. Um, like I love environment design, but I I just was like the game time appealed to me more. It was kind of this happy medium between color and natural, and
In,
um,
in
I
size, I think,
yeah yeah
right? I
yeah.
think there's a few different modules, but I think we might need something a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I mean, we could go back to him and ask him, what else.
You can add stuff too, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But one of the reasons I'm also just concerned about going with a vendor that's not approved is just the timeline that it takes to review everything. And frankly, for them to go through the bidding process, I think will be very will take a long time for them to even put the bid proposal together.
All right, I have to hop off. Thank you, everyone.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, Caroline, go ahead. Did you want? Oh, she has to go. Go ahead if you have to. Jump.
Good to go. But I will take on that. I will get in touch with him about those two playgrounds. Well, Tiara, I'll talk to you too
yes.
offline about getting in touch with him.
Okay, great. Yeah. So if the two of you will take
It's on that email, right? That you sent us?
what?
His contact information is on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
email.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, just scroll down. Make sure it's the one that's MRC is
Okay.
the like his company, basically, the consulting company.
Okay. Great.
Okay. So
Thanks,
are we
Janet.
kind of in agreement here that like we're gonna focus more on all the options that Mike has sent? Because he does represent multiple vendors, so there are some options there.
Yeah, though, if he's already
Yeah.
approved, I feel like that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we feel good about as a group, there's enough of a variety for us to choose from like just
Yeah.
what we sent over so far, right?
Yeah,
I think
there's a lot there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet.
2 o'clock,
you.
and we can regroup next month. But please, if you have information during this month, like just let's work offline, feel free to just like send it to the group and we can make some decisions even over email, and then we can always vote on it, when we come together in the meeting.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Janet.
Thanks,
Good.
guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.